Granblue Fantasy Relink is an action RPG experience that you shouldn't miss. You don't have to be a Granblue Fantasy fan or spend hundreds of dollars on its mobile game to enjoy this experience. As a spin-off title, it sets you on a course that will help you to understand its world setting and how its narrative unfolds, and would even make you feel interested in its fighting game Granblue Fantasy vs. Rising as well. With a narrative that captures the soul of the original Granblue Fantasy mobile game, fluid and captivating combat system, and beautifully crafted universe, Granblue Fantasy Relink is not just a game that you should sleep on. It is a journey you will even regret missing if you're into multiplayer action RPG titles like Monster Hunter series. I'm Arcadenaut here, and today I will share my impressions about Granblue Fantasy Relink after playing it around 25 hours and reaching its extreme difficulty multiplayer quests. Surprisingly, Granblue Fantasy Relink broke records on Steam, reaching a peak concurrent player count that surpasses the likes of Persona 3 Reload and Like a Dragon Infinite Well during its launch. And it's all thanks to its multiplayer quests, different playable characters with their own unique gameplay styles, and customizations that are somewhat similar to Monster Hunter series, and along with an appeal to both veterans of Granblue Fantasy universe and newcomers. Granblue Fantasy Relink might be your new favorite action RPG title, or maybe your new addiction. I hope Granblue Fantasy fans don't hate me for this, but the world setting is basically like One Piece for those who don't know, like One Piece with islands floating in an endless sky and our main cast embarking on a high-flying adventure aboard the airship Grand Cypher. Grand, the ship's captain, and Lyria, a girl with mysterious ability to summon primal beasts, are the main characters of this series, as this duo forms the heart of the narrative with their bond and quest driving the story forward. Relink starts with primal dragon Bahamut going berserk and our party force landing in Zega Grande's Kingdom. There we learn about the Church of Avia, who seek to exploit Lyria's summoning power for their own ends. This act sets the crew of Grand Cypher on a desperate mission across the islands of Zega Grande's Kingdom, not just to rescue Lyria, but also to uncover the dark ambitions behind her abduction. As the main cast of Granblue Fantasy being totally playable characters, meaning that you can fully play the main story as Gran, Catalina, Rackham, Io, Eugene or Rosetta, and that is without spending any crewmate cards. However, before talking about the unlockable characters, let me tell you that the main story is somewhat mediocre. Kinda felt like an ordinary JRPG experience with twists and villains and a climax. Needless to say, it took around 12 hours for me to complete it with some side stuff also completed, so it also does not turn into a chore. It also kinda reminded me of the PlayStation 2 title Rogue Galaxy here and there, though I think a well-written main story would be a cherry on the top for this experience. However, as I said before, the main point of Granblue Fantasy Relink is the multiplayer content. You see, Granblue Fantasy Relink has 19 playable characters at the moment, and each and every one of them has their own unique abilities, own unique weapons and gameplay. As the narrative unfolds, you get to obtain these crewmate cards to unlock these characters, either by completing the main story quests or multiplayer quests. However, there is one simple trick here. I would advise you to unlock characters with these crewmate cards after you complete the main story that normally takes around 8 to 10 hours, so that your newly unlocked character can join your adventures as 45 level with their mastery skill tree completed as 50%, and of course with a decent weapon that is. By doing this trick, you can shorten your level and material grind time, and as well as save from spending your mastery points. These mastery points are really crucial to make your character stronger, as they help you to improve both the offense and the defense attributes of that character. You get to obtain these mastery points by either leveling up or completing quests, so by unlocking these characters after completing the story might help you to save those precious points for more expensive yet late game or end game customizations. Just to see how Granblue Fantasy Relink would handle these things, I experimented a bit and unlocked Vayne around the 60% of the story, as he was around level 20 with his mastery completed as to 20 to 30%. This also works if you just want to unlock maybe your favorite character, maybe Siegfried, Narmaya or any other character, and don't want to play as the original crew. But it's best to keep this trick in mind. The level, the material or the mastery grind is not dull, on the contrary it is one of the main aspects of the game. Either by yourself or by joining the online lobbies, you get to do quests, hunt bosses in a group of 4. Get those sweet materials and head back home. As this is the main selling point and the charm of Relink. As a blend of single player and multiplayer experiences, with a keen focus on party-based multiplayer dynamics, Granblue Fantasy Relink also offers fluid gameplay mechanics and features chain attacks, allowing players to engage in combat with a level of depth and strategy. Chain burst mechanic lets you to synchronize your parties or other players' special attacks for devastating elemental attacks, actually trying to promote the teamwork or just, unleashing your ultimate move to be done with that quest as soon as possible. To be honest, I've never seen random players communicating with each other or just strategizing over a quest. I've been mostly matched with insane 100 level Japanese players and trying to keep up with them. Just like its mobile experience, the elemental weakness is also another vital point of the game, as each character is represented with an elemental affinity. And of course, dealing extra damage to the element they are strong against. As I mostly played as Catalina, Rakem and Rosetta during the main story, I mostly focused on dealing high damage, forging better weapons, unlocking new abilities through the mastery page and so on. However, after I completed the main story and started doing the multiplayer quests starting with hard difficulty, I also started to plan how I will customize my characters, if I should focus dealing more on damage, increase my critical hit rate, or to deal more stun damage to the enemies for chained link attacks. I mostly played as Narmaya, Zeta, Charlotte, Cagliostro, Siegfried and Vayne during these multiplayer quests, and each of these characters, they feel either like Monster Hunter weapon counterparts or just unique and fun. And if I were to give examples to the characters that I mostly played, Narmaya offers a fluid swordplay, can switch between stances to either focus on AoE or single target damage to break the enemy's stun gauge, and through her skill set, it allows to execute devastating combos with precision and flair. Zeta on the other hand is basically like the insect glaive of Monster Hunter. Her combat style is aggressive, focusing on piercing attacks that relies on air combos. She can also deal high amount of fire damage to her enemies. However, I see Japanese people rely on Percival when it's about to fire elemental, so you might also want to give Percival a chance as well. Charlotte on the other hand is an off-tank kind of a character. With her quick, powerful slashes and ability to defend her allies position her as stalwart protector on the field. And I think she's one of my favorites whenever I need a light elemental. However, when it's all about the earth elemental, Cagliostro and Siegfried seals the deal. Although originally Cagliostro is a mischievous alchemist, she is more like a support, buffer and debuffer kind of a character in Relink. She combines alchemy with combat tactics for creative playstyles, focusing on elemental attacks and area of effect spells. However, Siegfried on the other hand has the vibes of Great Sword of Monster Hunter. His resilience and powerful strikes make him a really sturdy DPS, even if you don't need an earth elemental character in your team. Last but not least, Vayne is the water ice elemental version of Siegfried, however offering a more fluid gameplay with damage dealing and crowd controlling skills. But if you're looking for a more fluid character for your water elemental spot, I would recommend you to play as Lancelot, especially if you're a dual blade main in Monster Hunter series. And as you can clearly see, Granblue Fantasy Relink has lots of unique characters, and starting with late March, the developer team aims to implement raid bosses, additional characters into the game, and the best thing is, for free. And I think I'm totally okay if Cygames ever decides to add more content, maybe something like a battle pass at some point. since Granblue Fantasy Relink offers challenging bosses, unique characters that might hook you to itself already. Similar to the Monster Hunter series, you find yourself in a hub world between the main quests, or after you're done with it. There you can go to blacksmith to forge new weapons, trade the materials however you see fit, or go to quest counter to start doing your grind, as either offline or online. You can also do these multiplayer quests with your own team without going online, but it might be the best to experience this content going online, maybe queuing for a quick match, or of course with your friends. These quests are mostly fighting against a boss that feels like a MMORPG raid or a dungeon boss that the World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV players will be familiar with. Each and every boss of course has their own tactics, own weaknesses, and of course must be played carefully even if you are a high level with the best gear. And besides these boss quests, there are also arena and survival kind of missions, so basically you will mostly find yourself fighting against hordes of Granblue monsters. The variety of these missions are similar to how Monster Hunter is. You go out there, kill those monsters, get a rating that depends on your performance, that will of course give you materials and rewards based on your rating, and then head back to your hub world. And it's actually enough. The whole experience gets better, more captivating by each increase in difficulty, and just wait till side games add more content and raid bosses. As for its art design and visuals, as I mentioned before, I kinda felt Rogue Galaxy kind of a vibe in Granblue Fantasy Relink, but I would say it's also quite inspired by Tales of series. It features an anime-inspired visual style that is faithful to its mobile game roots, expansive environments, and a compelling soundtrack that matches the soul of Granblue Fantasy. I think I would give Granblue Fantasy Relink a perfect score if it had more maps and more enemy and boss varieties. As a project that is stuck in countless of years of development hell, I think it's a miracle to see such a solid experience, so don't get me wrong there. However, I also have this state a bad aftertaste, just like when I play Monster Hunter as well. I just don't like the reskinned versions of a boss or a monster that I defeat over and over again, since each and every boss, whether it be a main story or a multiplayer quest, they all have tactics and boss mechanics that would make most of the MMORPG experiences envious, or rather look cheap. And so, since it's a big success on Steam and also in Japan, I really hope Cygames has really big plans for this experience. Granblue Fantasy Relink deserves this, the fans of Granblue deserve it, and it's not late to give Relink a chance. Definitely one of the must-plays of 2024, however, I wouldn't call it the best RPG experience of 2024, I know it's soon, but especially after experiencing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Persona 3 Reload. Granblue Fantasy Relink, I think, does the action RPG and its own stuff very well, presenting a solid and fun experience with multiplayer experience full of content. As always, thank you for watching today's video. Which Granblue Fantasy Relink character are you planning to main? As next, I don't know, I'm still playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Persona 3 Reload, and to be honest I don't want to rush things just to make a video, so maybe I will take you guys to either Tekken 8 or to Helldivers 2, huh? How about that? Any humble support through Patreon and YouTube join is really appreciated, and I will see you soon. Stay tuned.